as we keep moving through the years and everybody is older who still can no longer smoke tobacco, we need a system in place to be able to help the retailers to identify those people. So feeding back into like some sort of national, ID that not just a passport or a driver's license, but something else that needs to happen at the point of purchase.
And the generational ban is going to be very difficult to implement. We've not heard about anything to support us in how we do that. There's the whole mechanisms behind the lack of trading standard support. We're seeing more and more enforcement out there, but it all looks and feels like it's part of a bigger PR campaign rather than actually being meaningful, impactful work.
Have they got community retailers interested at the best of heart? I don't think they have. Who are they listening to and who's making the noise? I think we matter. There's 55 plus thousand of us up and down the UK, and we provide a lot of jobs out there. Hi, Natalie. Welcome to Sea Talk.
Hello. You all right today?
Yeah, good. All good.
Okay.
Let's talk about, the campaign that we all started, Protect Your Store. So, we spent over a year campaigning to the government, who, really didn't respond back to us, which is really appalling. We all took a lot of time, a lot of effort to do what we needed to do, and the bill got passed, which, it was a bit of a shame. But I'm hoping that we can gather the same momentum and try and help shape the licensing scheme that they're trying to put together. But anyway, it all changes today with the PM announcing he's going to leave. So let's see who comes in next. But anyway, let's talk about the campaign. So a lot of us were disappointed. Little response initially. What do you think, us as retailers probably could have done better? And what do you think we need to do for the next part of the campaign going forward?
So I think one of the struggles that we all have as retailers is having belief that what we need to do to run our business, that we're worthy of being listened to. And I think in the past when we have, this is just evidence really that, it's really hard to get something passed in our favour. People don't seem to believe the struggles that we have in situations on the front line.
Hi, Priyesh. What gaps do you think, Priyesh, are remaining from the new laws, and what action government needs to protect retailers' livelihoods?
I think the problem still remains. The disparity gap is massive. What they're trying to achieve is somewhat honourable, and it is in the right direction, but how they get there is where we're struggling and where I feel like there's a massive failing, because they've not understood what we offer into the community, how we do what we do. And as such, we're just being treated with a blanket ban. And the generational ban is going to be very difficult to implement. We've not heard about anything to support us in how we do that. There's the whole mechanisms behind the lack of trading standard support. We're seeing more and more enforcement out there, but it all looks and feels like it's part of a bigger PR campaign rather than actually being meaningful, impactful work.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you think that, when we all started talking about this, which is over 2 years now, when we all start feeling the impact of all these rogue retailers that are popped up on the high streets, we was all making a lot of noise, but it took the BBC over a year and a half to get to that, right? And and what you're saying there, Priyesh, is the government using this as a PR campaign? Probably they were, yeah. Because why did it take the BBC so long to act on what retailers were making the noise about? And this noise is massive. This could have been stopped earlier. These shops are now being found to be selling drugs, helium, and whatever else in their stores. But if they'd listened to the retailers, we're the heart of the community. We provide for the communities. We know what goes on in our communities. But there's a lack of engagement. So on that, Nats, they brought in the disposable vape ban. We know that didn't work because, they went and got the vapes from wherever they want. Just on the vape ban, how that didn't work, what do you think government can learn from that for the upcoming consultations?
Well, lack of preparation for them. They didn't prepare for enforcement. because the people that actually cared about the communities and were following, legitimate business people that were following the letter of the law, that we had to get the vapes out of our store by the 1st of June. We did that. But like you said, they could go and get them from anywhere else in bulk if they wanted to, and it made no difference. The same as you can go into, a pop-up shop that is selling illegal tobacco. We're paying VAT and taxes on our tobacco that we get in. We have track and trace. It comes into our store. These people are not, and they're carrying on. Just near me, there's a store that's been raided now for the 4th time last week. It's still open. So what they can learn is that they're wanting to start a whole nother campaign because, like Priyesh said, it is a PR stunt because they want nobody to be smoking tobacco because they've recognised how, if tobacco was discovered now, they would never bring it to market because it has so many harmful effects. But they're not going to just wipe it out because of all the taxes that they receive from it. So, the things that they could learn, they need to build an infrastructure that can cope with enforcing it. They need to build a system that is suitable for retailers to not have abuse at the front counter, because we already know, selling alcohol, that one of the number one reasons that we get abused is refusal. So when we're going to start refusing people for turning 18, that's a whole world of sort of vague intimidation, that we're going to receive from the customers who are bold and brass enough to be able to sort of challenge us on that when we're just doing our job. So there needs to be some sort of approved technology, even a national a card that that's even digital, so you can't say, oh, I've forgotten it, or something that we all have to do when we're standing at the counter buying anything over the age of.
Yeah, because I mean, it's going to be a big challenge, is this? Because two friends could come in together, one can buy and one can't buy.
Yeah.
Then you've got the whole proxy purchasing,
which is already a problem. That's already a problem with alcohol and has always remained. I don't think anyone has really ever been prosecuted on that. So,
and I think again, we know ourselves from all the work that we've all done, and many retailers done up and down the country. If we can't get a response from Jonathan Reynolds when he was business secretary to when Peter Cole comes in, and when we delivered 1,500 letters to him, have they got community retailers interested at the best heart? I don't think they have. Who are they listening to, and who's making the noise? I think we matter. There's 55,000+ of us up and down the UK, and we provide a lot of jobs out there, and the support for the communities, but they don't always listen to us. And I think we hear what goes on in our communities. We can help the government with this, but they fail to realise that. Priyesh, if you could define top priorities for protecting retailers' livelihoods in the upcoming consultations, what would they be and why?
So we need to understand and shift away from narratives, because it feels like the government is leaning into narratives which are not necessarily there. Someone comes up with a bright spark idea and we're running with it. Let's be honest. Year in, year out, tobacco duties increased. Has it stopped people smoking? Year in, year out, we're changing legislation around age restriction and that kind of stuff. Has it changed? It's not. Ultimately, the reason that the smoking and tobacco industry is shrinking in volume and sales is because people are living and choosing to lead healthier lifestyles. Now, the narrative that the government is leaning in on is, oh, there's less people smoking. That's not because they've done anything about it. It's because people are choosing to lead different lifestyles. And when we look at the age-related stuff, you're taking away a freedom of choice. Those that want to smoke should be able to smoke, should they be doing it with a fully informed decision-making mechanism in their mindsets. So when we're blanket banning and being dictator-like, it's very worrying to say, well, let's move away from this particular topic. Now let's take HFSS. It all leans into each other, into dictatorship. Soon, are we going to be, as retailers, dictated on as to, you can't sell a packet of crisps because they're not HFS compliant. You can't sell them to anyone under the age of 16 because they don't have the mental capacity and the stability to make that decision to consume that product.
Yeah,
that's a really good point. That is,
we're not adults anymore. What defines an adult anymore? Because they're basically saying 18 used to be the bar, right? Even if they moved things up to 21, it was still a bar, and now they're saying you're no longer capable.
Yeah.
It's absolute bonkers. And if it's all about not getting tobacco into children's hands, go back to at the beginning where we started with all this is they should get behind and stop illicit trade first.
Exactly.
Because not as responsible retailers that are doing
This is only going to propel it, is it not? This is not. This is now going to be another window for more illicit tobacco because, like you said, you're taking away the choice from legitimate adults. They are legally defined as adults. You're taking the choice away from them. So where are they going to get the tobacco from if they can't get it from their local shop?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to get it from people that don't care. People that will be selling,
the manufactured stuff in their own their lofts, as it were, in their attics.
The people that make decisions not to pay taxes, those people.
We've got a store right opposite me, and still today selling singles at 50p.
That's my problem. So since all of this has come in, before I used to take for granted my business operation because we were fully compliant. We never got involved in anything. We still don't. But now we're seeing upwards of 30 to 40 requests per day for single cigarettes.
Yeah.
All that does for me is reinforces that are more and more people around me doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I said this to Coventry City Council. I says, their response to me was, we've got to look back in the toolbox to see what we can do. And I says, okay, then I says, for the legitimate retailers in Coventry, should we all start selling dodgy cigarettes as well? Which she couldn't answer, right?
It's not even dodgy, Paul. Let's take a legitimate packet of cigarettes. You've paid all your duties on it, and you're going to decide to open it up and sell it as singles.
Yeah.
Your profit margins go through the roof. Let's be honest. We're not going to do this, but when you look at it from that perspective, it's very lucrative.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that's what they're doing. But it baffles me why they don't listen to us retailers at all. And look, we've got licensing that's coming into place now. They're still trying to put this together, and again, we would like the business secretary to listen to us as retailers, right? And one of my key things, what I would like to ask Peter Kyle for is, why would he not set up a steering committee with retailers involved, and big retailers and small retailers, so they understand what we're going to go through when this licensing comes in. Also, retailers get to know what the licensing is about, because if you still talk to some retailers out there, they still don't know that licensing is coming in.
They're still scaremongering. They don't understand what it means for them, and their concern is, we're close to a school, we're close to a college, where shops are going to get shut down. It's not that at all. It's the education piece that's missing, but it's a two-way thing. The government seem to be so disconnected from the retail world, but then retailers, we're juggling a million and one things at once because we don't have it in bite-sized, digestible, implementable bits of snapshot format.
Mm-hmm.
We go into rabbit holes of, oh my God, what's it going to do for my business? What does this mean for me?
And that's, what do you think on the licensing scheme? How do you think that might impact your business?
For me, it's like you said, the education piece. You need to understand what it all entails, and I'm already holding an alcohol license, so for me, it doesn't bring any fear that I'm not going to be compliant or anything like that. But more, it's more to do with how are they going to enforce it when they're not enforcing anything at the moment on existing non-licensed. I mean, there's a tobacco register and a vapes register. Reporting stores that are not on there, all trading standards goes in and does is tell them it's free to register. So they go away and they register. So now what are they going to do? Are they going to go through significant checks for each store?
I mean, how do you think it'll affect yours, Priyesh?
I think it's, again, going back to the toolkit, Paul, you mentioned, when we're talking about banning and enforcement of closures, the closure orders are not long enough. I think they've just pushed them from 6 months to 12 months, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's not long enough. There's got to be more. There's got to be an indirect impact on whoever the director of that business is, it's a joint enterprise approach. I think I've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Anybody connected to that business, from a significant person in significant control, shareholders, directorship, any other businesses that they're connected to, they all need to have sanctions placed against them. And even if it's not a physical sanction that impacts them in any other form, but it's almost like they go on a watch list.
Yeah.
Because if you don't file your VAT, or you're late in filing your corporation tax, they send you a letter to say, here's your fine. We'll forego the fine, but you're on a watch list for 12 months.
Yeah.
I think more of that kind of stuff is going to be impactful to stopping or changing up the way that people operate.
I think there's a lot to be done yet. So that's the licensing is likely to be. We know it's going to be the next challenge for us.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told that a consultation on tobacco licensing scheme may not begin until 2027.
Okay.
Do you think that the timeline sits well? Do you think it's enough time for us, given the challenges that we as retailers are already facing today?
Well, it depends how much we're going to be able to be involved with that process, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a year you're talking.
Yeah.
What happens in a year? It's not they've not developed anything so far that provides us with confidence that how the licensing is displayed again over each county as well, how much discretion each county has over the licensing, because we already know that. I mean, obviously we've got a different licensing system for our alcohol up in Scotland than we do down south, but even in Scotland, the disparity with all the councils, it's different how people run their businesses. So what will that mean to each retailer? What will be involved and required of them, and what support will they get from licensing once they manage to acquire that license? You know, the reassurance that it's going to be, each store is going to be monitored, that, you know, reporting stores that don't have licenses.
But discretion, therein lies the problem, doesn't it? Discretion from district to district, borough to borough, even within one council district. There'll be multiple authorities who are operating to manage the licensing schemes within the police forces, within different council bodies, and that therein, because there isn't a clear national framework, leaves the door wide open to
interpretation, basically.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So when they can't police illicit trade today, they're not going to be able to police this going forward. This is another burden to us respectful retailers up and down the country, right? We've got another scheme coming into place, which they're not involving us to shape, which I think is pretty disrespectful to us retailers, right?
I think the DBT need to look at it. I know they're working on a high street campaign currently and reworking what the high street looks like and how it implements. A lot of the stuff that's coming in, again, it's all honorable, it's all admirable, but it doesn't sit right with the timelines, because it feels like for us as retailers, everything's hitting us all at once.
That's the other thing as well, is there's so much happening to us at the moment with all the different changes in legislation, even operationally, for, you know, going as far as DRS and, you know, this decline 09. Oh, it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot.
I mean, the book stops with us always, end of the day, right? With everything that's been thrown at them, and it's just too much at us at the moment. I think the government just needs to slow it down a bit. They need to understand where they're making mistakes and rectify one at a time before they go on to anything else. And, you know, look, for the licensing scheme to work for both retailers and agencies, because I think it's got to be a partnership. It's got to work for everyone. What do you think needs to be included to make it fit for purpose?
National framework, licensing fees which feed into enforcement, so you're not looking for another pot of money from somewhere else. Chartered Institute Trading Standards need to have more access to proceeds of crime claims. So from my understanding, it goes into one social pot, and trading standards get the small end of that bargain. When actually, if they're the ones that have done the enforcement, they're the ones that have secured and locked in those funds, it should be, well, we're reallocating that for them to carry on doing the good work that they're doing on a more sustainable basis, rather than feeding it into the social system overall, and then it gets dispersed in ways which we never see, unfortunately.
And for you, Nuts?
I think there still needs to be also work for the future on, like, a system that will work as we keep moving through the years, and everybody is older who still can no longer smoke tobacco. We need a system in place to be able to help the retailers to identify those people. So feeding back into, like, some sort of national, you know, ID that not just a passport or a driver's license, but something else that needs to happen at the point of purchase that relieves the retailer of that confrontation. And that needs to be taken seriously, because I don't think they're quite getting our real concern. whether we stop tobacco or not, whether we're worried about, not getting a license or not, at the end of the day, once we know all those hurdles are overcome and this all starts to be implemented, we know time is never going to be on our side, because the customers are still going to continually be getting older.
Yes.
And it's going to be much harder to tell the difference between two 25-year-olds. They even changed the ask 21 scheme to the ask 25 scheme, because it was too hard to determine between a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old. They've recognised that. So you've got history that proves that it's very difficult to start identifying how old everybody is. Us three won't even be able to tell how old each of us are on the call. So it's that same sort of principle. And at a fleeting moment, somebody coming up and asking for tobacco, you're getting confrontation after confrontation after confrontation. And you've got to look after everybody's mental health at the end of the day. Otherwise, they're not going to be wanting to run their businesses. So,
and it's going to be a lot on us and our store teams, right? So let's get a quote from both of you. A quote to Peter Kyle. And that's you first. What message would you like to send to our business secretary?
I think you'd be foolish not to involve retailers in the consultation. And I think you need to listen to the people that are going to be standing on the front line trying to implement this new policy.
And Priyesh?
We want to talk to you face to face. We don't want panels. We don't want roundtables. We want you, your team, and our teams from different retail categories, different retail sectors at that table discussing things face to face in real time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.